So yes, there is some wonderful news about the fourth stimulus check. Millions of people could now receive an extra fourth stimulus payment next month, and that's because of Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. And now everybody, they're discussing the quickest way to get this legislation finally passed for our fourth stimulus check. So a new group of Democratic lawmakers have proposed a bill that would introduce a new national stimulus payment, and it's aimed at offsetting the escalated price of gasoline. Once the bill finally passes, millions of people would be eligible for stimulus checks in any month, where the national average gas prices exceed $4 per gallon. Representatives Mike Thompson of California and John Larson of Connecticut introduced the bill recently. It is called the Gas Rebate Act of 2022. It's going to send eligible Americans an energy rebate of $100, as well as another $100 for each dependent. Now, the new stimulus measure, everybody, is designed to ease the impact of American families, who have already been hit hard by the steepest rise in inflation in decades. Gas prices have already been escalating rapidly, and the recent crisis around the globe is causing record prices in gasoline. Now, for the latest Social Security news, many Social Security beneficiaries are now eligible to receive a larger monthly benefit in April. But senior citizens and Social Security recipients will need to meet all new eligibility requirements that lawmakers have agreed on. A boost of $200 is available to claim right now. So everybody, make sure to watch until the end of this video to see if you qualify for this additional stimulus check. So millions of people collect Social Security every month, but seniors who rely on a fixed income from Social Security may be feeling the financial impact of rising consumer prices, which with annual inflation is also outpacing the 2022 COLA. But there is some hope for retirees. Social Security paychecks could see a much larger boost next year. According to early estimates from the Senior Citizens League, the 2023 Social Security COLA could be as high as 7.6% based on the February CPIW data, which is the price index that's used to calculate the Social Security COLA. Many economists are estimating that a 7.6% COLA for 2023 is going to happen. So everybody, the Social Security Administration saw that the SSA, or the Social Security Adjustment, was 5.9%, and that's the biggest increase in 40 years. But it's far below the current 7.9% annual rates of inflation. And with sharp increases in gas prices and energy costs fueled by the crisis around the globe, it's likely that inflation will rise and continue to outpace the 2022 COLA even further. Now, cost of living adjustments are actually designed to protect the value of Social Security payments over time. However, Social Security benefits have lost nearly a third of their purchasing power since 2000. Economists have even told reporters, even worse, it appears that inflation is not done with us yet, and the buying power of Social Security benefits may continue to erode in 2022. Now, Mary Johnson argued that the consumer price data used to calculate the COLAs does not adequately account for some rising costs which are unique to Social Security beneficiaries, like healthcare. So while most monthly benefits increased by 55% over the past 21 years, healthcare costs rose 145% over the same period. The average monthly benefit rose as a result of the 2022 COLA. The group said it recently received thousands of emails from many retired and disabled senators who were describing the dire situations that they face. It's also clear that senior citizens have been hard by inflation. The situation has prompted calls for many prominent lawmakers in Senior Citizens League for a remedy in the form of a one-time $1,400 check.
If you are one of the very richest people in this country, this moment right now has never been better for you than any time in American history. Today, corporate profits are at an all-time high, and CEOs, heads of large corporations, have seen huge increases in their compensation packages.
$600 bonus checks are being sent out to every single eligible American if you meet the new eligibility requirements for this new stimulus check. You want to continue watching this video because here's a ton of news about the fourth stimulus check that you probably didn't know. You guys cannot miss out on this very important stimulus information. So there's a lot of great news that I want to go over. First of all, the U.S. Department of Agriculture announced that workers on farms and in meatpacking plants who toiled through the crisis will begin to receive $600 bonuses from the feds. The USDA is putting $700 million toward a fund, yes everybody, a fund for food workers in recognition of their own personal costs that many people experience during the tough times, which are still going on today. And according to CNBC, the food industry, the food worker and meatpacking industry has been hit the hardest. And the agriculture secretary actually told reporters that they've often taken significant personal risk to make sure the rest of America can feed their families. Farm workers face the impossible choice of working through the crisis to sustain their own families. And officials say that millions of people could be eligible for some grants. The money will be distributed through state agencies, and the USDA actually plans to go through a formal request for applications. An application process, that is, for groups to be awarded more money. Plus, the USDA is looking for groups with a record of working with hard-to-reach people and that they can reach them to get them the money that they need. Food system workers, everybody, who can't do their jobs remotely, were hit disproportionately impacted by the crisis. And the Crisis Emergency Assistance Fund was established with more than $64 million in federal funding. And it was announced by Governor Kathy Hochul of New York. This fund will provide one-time payments to help people with the cost of diapers for struggling families with younger children, cover food expenses for households, and provide housing and relocation assistance for residents of New York. Now, starting this month, New York will distribute to all families enrolled in public assistance or the SNAP program, and to have children under the age of 3. Families will receive $140 per eligible.
Now yield 5 minutes to the gentleman from California, Mr. Obernolte.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Director Young. Congratulations on your confirmation. Thank you for the introductory phone call. It was very nice getting to know you. I'm certainly looking forward to working with you. So I'd like to continue a line of questioning that a number of the other members of the panel have raised about the assumptions that were made on the rate of inflation when the budget was created. So my understanding is that the rate of inflation that was assumed for this year is 4.7%. Obviously, we're trending towards nearly twice that. And for the rest of the budgetary forecast was 2.3%, which I think the Federal Reserve and most every economist would agree it's going to be substantially more than that. And you've explained that that was because the budget was crafted in November before the recent spike in inflation. Do I have all that right?
That is correct.
So I'm curious as to, because I'm hopeful, Mr. Chairman, as members of this panel on both sides of the aisle have testified, I'm hopeful that we can actually do what Congress is meant to do, take this budget and craft an actual budget proposal out of it and pass that budget. So we have to rely on the figures that you're giving us and try and craft our own budget out of that. What changes do you think the fact that the assumptions that you made about inflation when you crafted the budget were incorrect, what effect do you think that has on the numbers in the budget?
As I mentioned earlier, inflation has an offsetting mechanism. So typically with higher inflation, revenues are also higher. So we believe our debt and deficit targets remain about the same. I'd also point out it's a 10-year budget. Our